How's it going, everyone? And welcome to a video that is not a weapon showcase. For the first time in a solid week or so, uh, I'm showing off another build. Although it's not exactly another build, it's an update on my original Deputy Zane build, now properly referred to as Sheriff, because I don't even use a shotgun for the most part, so I can't even begin to try to justify calling it a Deputy if I want to follow the naming schemes of Borderlands 2 that I just completely forgot about when deciding on a name for the build previously. If you haven't seen the first video I did on this build, that's okay. You don't need to watch that, because I'm going to be going over everything again. There has been a few changes in skill trees, so if you haven't, or if you have watched the video, I would recommend watching that, and yeah, I'll just get into it. I'm gonna actually go over two skill trees. I'm gonna be going over this one, which is the one that I mostly use, and then I'm also going to be going over another one that uses the Deathless relic, because I went over that in a video, and I wasn't a fan of it in that video, but I since that video came out, I have been playing with it. So it's been a solid week of playing with mostly that. And it does have its place. I find it a little bit, it works better. It's just, I don't prefer it, and it does end up just coming down to preference. I don't think one's better than the other. So I'll show that off if you're interested. I'll have that linked in the iCard at the top. But yeah, so, I mean, I pulled up the double agent tree first, so let's start here. There's not much to say here. I do use the Digiclone action still, with Schadenfreude and which one's real. I use this, obviously, to keep my shields up, which is a big part of this, is making sure shields stay up, because I use the rerouter for the amp damage from it. If it isn't up as much as I can get it to be up, then I'm not going to be getting as much DPS as I could. So a lot of this build is focused on gun damage and keeping my shield up. And then I have which one's real to keep the clone taking damage so I can get my shield restored while it's up. I have heard from a few people that Schadenfreude doesn't work. I don't know if that was fixed or what, because I haven't noticed it. I've thought it's been working fine, so I don't know. I'm not educated enough on the subject to talk of that, but whatever. From my experience, it seems to work fine. Starting off in the actual tree, we start with Synchronicity, just gun damage, so pretty self-explanatory there. This is more gun damage and health regeneration. I used to take a point out of this to put it into Fractal Frags, because I still have it equipped. I used this, the Power Siphon Transfusion, to keep my shields up and my health up, but mostly for the shield. But the clone doesn't know how to throw nades like that. It's really good with, like, the Stormfront or anything with, like, a big AoE or singularities, but when it comes to just, like, grenades like this, it kind of struggles to find a good place to put them, because I think it just kind of throws them out in whatever direction it's looking. So I find it's not exactly useful for this build. The only reason I still have the grenade on is because I've been too lazy to take it off, and instead I'd rather just get the extra gun damage and health regen. And then Quick Breather, which is really good. You swap with your clone, and instantly your shields are regenerating. It doesn't get as much use in my case as it could because of my Guardian rank. Which one is it? Shield Reboot. Because you get kills so quickly, this is pretty much always on. If you slow down in getting kills, though, and you really need that shield regen, you can just swap places with your clone, which is fine. I might come back to my Guardian. Actually, I'll just do the Guardian right now. I got Hollow Point, which helps, but also isn't, like, and nothing in the Guardian rank is needed. Hollow Point, Shield Reboot, and Emergency Response really help. Overkill is also really nice to have, but again, none of it's needed. It kind of just helps with making it even better. I imagine eventually almost anyone is gonna, like any more hardcore player is gonna get these skills anyways, because they're really good. But yeah. So on to the undercover tree. Of course, the other action skill I'm using is the barrier. All-rounder, this is very important to have. You're gonna be moving around a lot with this. Because because it's Zane, obviously. You get more damage the faster you move and the more you move. So, while moving, you can't always be facing your enemy 100% of the time. So you do want to have full coverage on that to, again, keep your shields up and to keep damage off of you. And then this does sort of come down to preference. I prefer charge relay because movement speed and reload speed is nice to have. The reload speed especially. However, charge relay does only work while you have your shield on the ground. This is something I'm hoping they look into and they change and just make it so it's like nanites or some shit, where even if you're holding the shield, I'm pretty sure it still works. At least it seems like it does in my very limited testing I did. But I think these two should both be activated even if you have your shield picked up. Because, yeah, this is only 8 seconds after moving away from the barrier. This doesn't have that. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure this does work just as long as you have it around you. The reason I don't use this is I have enough health regen as is. And the shield recharge delay really isn't that much. This it's 33%. It'll take, like, a second off of the recharge delay I currently have on the rerouter. So it's not really needed, especially with whatever it was called, shield reboot. The shield recharge delay doesn't matter. The health regen, it's good, but it's not needed, and I have other ways of regenning my health. And then the reload speed is significantly less than it is here, and you know, if I just pop my shield up, I quickly reload my head explosion, which is the one I have the biggest problem with reloading, or keeping reloaded, because it has the longest reload of the guns I use. Yeah, it gets the job done. But these two can be interchanged to whatever you please. And then the last tree, the Hitman tree, this is the one that makes it work. This is where the moneymaker tree. Of course, violent speed, violent momentum, move faster, do more damage by moving faster. Core hand, I have 3 out of 5 in this. I previously had 4 out of 5, but I took the extra point that I had in here and I put it into here because I realized it's a lot more important to, like, despite my reload speed being kind of it's much more important to keep my action skills up because my barrier gives me more damage, and then my blah blah blah. You're gonna be hearing me repeat that a lot. It's all about doing more damage as much of the time as you can. Like, I mean, you know, that kind of goes for every build, I suppose, but especially this one. It's all about big bursts of damage. That's what you want. And speaking of which, that brings us to Plain Dirty. This skill is a must. However, you don't need a lot of points in this skill. I don't know if it's bugged or if it's intended to work this way and the code is wrong, but there's a lot of misinformation about this one skill, and it comes from the game itself. As you see, it says, after shooting an enemy, Zane's next 5 shots all have a chance to fire an additional projectile. That's not how this works. I have a 50% chance right now. The 50% chance is to proc the ability itself. So, if you see, I'll throw out my barrier. I didn't get the ability that time. That's actually perfect. That's exactly what I wanted to show off. I did not get the ability from that. If I did it again, there's a good chance I probably would get it. Or if I activated my other skill, but I don't want to activate that one because he'll shoot shit. And I don't want them getting mad at me right now. So here, I'll see if I can throw it again. I didn't get it that time. I'm gonna move on. Eventually, you will get it. And usually you get it just about every time. You pretty much will get it every time, especially when you're killing. You're gonna get it within the next 5 shots. Each of those 5 shots having the additional projectile 100% of the time. So, as long as you keep getting kills, you're pretty much gonna have it up all the time, and you don't need any more than like 50%. Honestly, I could probably get away with having like 3 points in it. Let's see. There we go. See, I got it that time. 1. Oh, fuck. All right, hold on. Let's, let me see if I can get this visualized. There's 2. I should have waited for my shield recharge. Every time you're doing those 2 shots, I'll see if I can maybe do that again. I'm gonna get back here, though. So yeah, Salvation, important still to have if you aren't using the Deathless build that I'll be showing off in a sec, or not in a second, but later on in the video. Again, gonna have links to that. Salvation is really important to have to keep. Salvation gives you insane lifesteal, so you just become a tank as long as you're doing those big bursts of damage. You're always getting that health back. Death follows close. Just everything else is like, or yeah, you need those. That's about it for actual skill tree. For the gear, I'm gonna have links to the gear and the skill tree in the description for anyone who wants to see that. I'm not gonna have every piece of gear that I ever switch between, but I'll have like the main stuff that really is important and essential, or what I think is. So the rerouter I've talked about a lot. Of course, you I have a good one here with the plus 25. Actually, you know, plus 25% match capacity isn't what's good about this, I realize. You know, the last time I tried recording this, I had this drop, so I think I'm going to switch over to this. Because this gives me shock resistance. It doesn't have the match capacity boost, because it, well, that's good, because the higher shield capacity is with this build, the worse it is, because it takes longer to recharge. So, that's why, I'll go back here for a second. This tree, do not touch Hardy Stock. Hardy Stock increases your shield a lot, but you don't want that. You want your shield to be as flimsy as it can be, because you're going to keep it up because of your barrier. That's what's going to keep your shield up. Your shield itself doesn't need to keep itself up, because your barrier is going to be on a majority of the time. So Hardy Stock slows down the recharge, and you want to hit max as fast as you can. Another thing with this tree quickly is this you don't really need as long as you have Donnybrook and Salvation. These points you could split across this, or this. I prefer just dumping them all into here, just in case I'm not getting, or just in case I end up, for whatever reason, not doing enough damage in a shorter period of time to keep my health up. But yeah, so between these 3 skills, you can spend your points however you like. Doesn't matter too much. But back here, that doesn't matter. Snowdrift Victory Rush, I use this mostly for the Snowdrift and the magazine size I have on it. Snowdrift is helpful for repositioning, which is good for this build, is moving around the battlefield, finding proper angles and places to be. And if you can get shots off while you're doing this slide, you do an insane amount of damage, again, because of the speed thing. At least I'm pretty sure that affects it. I've done some testing with that too. It seems like it does, but it was also a little bit inconsistent, so I wasn't too sure. The Victory Rush is also nice to have, because, again, movement speed, blah blah blah. Sounding like a broken record, movement speed, gun damage, whatever. This is important. The Executor, yeah, I said that dumb. The Executor comm, it gives Zane an entirely new action, or an entirely new kill skill, which increases accuracy, handling, crit damage, and status effect, chance, and damage. What really matters here is the crit damage. That that's perfect for this build. It's all about crits. I'm sure you see the correlation. And then I also have the 45% Jakob's crit and 50% Jakob's accuracy. So I'm getting accuracy boost from that. I'm getting handling boost from the kill skill. Again, also accuracy on the kill skill. And that's not too important. Mostly it's just the crit damage. I would also enjoy having just I'd like give up the 50% Jakob's accuracy for like just general Jakob's damage, and then also maybe like sniper rifle damage or something else like that. That would be perfect for this. I also don't really need the 1 point in what is that? Violent Violence? Is that what that's called? Yeah, Violent Violence. I don't need the point here. I'd probably prefer it in here. Or maybe in here, so then I can take another point out of that and put it somewhere else, like back up in here. But yeah, so that's that. For the guns, Head Explosion is really nice to have. The splash damage, good for clearing out rooms. It also has, not listed, but it splits into 3 projectiles on crit instead of just the usual 1 to ricochet. So that's not only dealing splash damage in a small compact group, but it's also ricocheting out to deal even more damage in 3 different directions. This is just a room clearer. You can, like, annihilate things with this. Of course, being a crit build, Unforgiven. I didn't talk about the anointment on this. The anointment on this is quite nice. Splash damage increased by 125% on action still end. This is doing splash damage, so it's really nice to have. I also sometimes swap this out for this Head Explosion. This Head Explosion I usually use for just bossing. So Barrier is active, accuracy is increased by 60%, and crit damage is increased by 30%. Really nice for bossing. This Anointed is swapped unless you Digiclone, your weapon is reloaded. I'd love to have this anointment on a Head Explosion. Because God, the reload on the Head Explosion is so annoying. But, yeah. And then I also have another Unforgiven with, that's 2%, or 2 magazines have 50% additional bonus shock. This is also a nice one, but I don't use it all that much compared to this. Now, the Hand of Glory is a gun I just recently came around to. It's pretty nice. It's one you get from just playing the main story, and it's one I wasn't a fan of at first, but I came back to it, and it gets work done. I would recommend using this. But you can also, like, you can use a Flood for fast DPS output, Rowan's Call for the Elemental. Trader's Death and Pause Rifle are also pretty good if you want to do elemental damage. You can replace it with a Bum Pump Chump, just an actual shotgun, although I kind of had the Maggie to fail that purpose. Another Sniper Rifle even, the Hunted, if you wanted to use that. Yeah, like, I picked that up the last time I tried recording this. There we go. I have the Lucian's Toll on, just, I rarely use this. There's a few guns in here that I don't really use, and I mostly just keep around for, Mayhem modifiers fucking me over. Queen's Toll and King's Toll are really good for bossing, because this build can, in fact, boss. We'll roll a clip of that right now. There we go. The Becca is also really good assault rifle to use on this. The Monocle is really good. However, it's only good in specific situations. A lot of this build is hip fighting, so the Monocle doesn't get its special effect of like an insane crit bonus. That's only active when you zoomed in with it, or scoped in with it. So it's good on this build, but really only in like long range areas when there's a lot of space between your enemies and stuff. But yeah, and then, yeah, the Maggie is just used if something gets up in my face. I can just pull this out, and it's gone. Let's get going. So, let me just make sure everything's reloaded. Alright. as I enter this area and start shooting, you're going to notice a bit of lag. And, ooh, okay, good lag. Things just kind of die. As long as you get your crits, which, you know, why would I do that? Of course, on the enemy with, like, the huge head, I can't get a crit. There we go. Oh boy, I don't know what's happening there. Ooh, okay. Wow, I just got thrown around. That's a lot of badasses, huh? As I say, I don't usually zoom in. Ooh. Okay. Jeez. How many badasses you throwing at me, Carnivora? What? Oh man. Okay. Not the best start. I must admit. I think I'm gonna actually die here. Let's try this again. Okay. Round 2. I should mention, I am on Mayhem 3. I don't have any modifiers that are going to be affecting the actual build itself. Just the few of the enemies around me. Okay. I didn't want to hit a head anyways. There we go. 2 and 1. Dude, I gotta clear out these badasses. Can't see anything. He's having fun with my phone. I'll let him be. There we go. That went significantly better. Are you still... What the hell is his head? Come on. You know, I'm just gonna... Just get. Okay. That could have gone better. Not gonna lie. But, aside from the death, it did clear out pretty quickly. No, I was so close to this on that guy. I'm a little disappointed. Ooh, hi. These ghosts, man. I don't know what the lag spikes are about. That's, that usually ain't a thing. I might have some background programs going. Hopefully it'll, go up in a minute. But, I don't know. But you don't even got health! Oh, okay. That ain't good. Hope you can save me. Let me see! Fuck! Oh, jeez. Stop! Okay. What happened to that visual pollution move? I should have kept rolling my modifiers until I didn't have that plus 50% accuracy, specifically because of these badasses making my life difficult. Those rocket launchers just have pinpoint accuracy. Sadly, I don't. It's so difficult to hit heads on these badass psychos, maniacs, or whatever. Stuck on a wall, always fun. Oh, something to watch out with the head explosion is self-damage. That's a very real thing with it, and it is something that you will want to watch out for. There we go. That head is dancing around. I do apologize if gameplay isn't up to the standard that it should be while playing a character where you need crits. I have been playing a lot of modes recently. Explosive modes, so accuracy isn't exactly needed. Especially with the flacker. Turret, ain't he? Bust out here. The turret doesn't want to go down. I'm gonna back that on out. Or not. Maybe that was a mistake. Get up off his toes. Sure can. There we go. Getting a very badass heavy gun. Oh, I suppose that's good for the victory, though. Oh, can't have ammo there. I'm not gonna even try with the reload on that thing. I didn't even see that barrel there. Yeah, so it does handle itself pretty well, I feel. Of course, you do need to have that aim to actually make use of this build. So I think it can be a little alienating to console players. I don't know how aiming works on consoles. I don't play console. I imagine if you, like, adept at holding a controller and using that input method, you can probably make some pretty good use of this build. I'm not too sure on how that is, or if there's like an aim assist. I imagine there's probably some sort of aim assist. But I mean, hey, PC and you good with a mouse and keyboard, it's fantastic. It's just about clicking those heads, which evidently I can't do. Just might be putting like a week into this character of total playtime. I totally have this terror. Maybe I should have waited for the Halloween event to be done. But I wanted to get this out because I have had this pretty much done for a bit now. I just wanted some time to kind of play around with the Deathless version of this build. And I know this video is going to be running a bit long. I'll try to cut it down a bit. But I do want to have, like, gameplay of me fully running through here. I don't think I'm going to do a full run on the Deathless one. Please give me a tank. Okay. I'll just deal with this dude real quick. Actually, you know, I should use the handed blade on an enemy just to. Oh, well, that's the only enemy. I didn't really use this gun too well. I think I'm gonna do a separate video on the handed blade, so depending on when you're watching this, go check that out if it exists, maybe. So yeah, that's the last area here. I will cut over to the Deathless version. Alright, here I am with the Deathless setup. Much more tanky than the last one on paper. The problem with this is you do have to play it a lot safer because you don't have any sort of manual regen. It's all just from the shield itself. Unlike Moe's, you can't, like, get a calm or something that gives you, like, lifesteal and stuff for the shield itself, so it just comes down to regen. For the most part, it's all the same. This still tree is the same. This still tree is a bit different, and this tree is a bit different. Because you don't need the health regen, you can go into Stiff Upper Lip and Adrenaline. You can just go fully into Adrenaline, it's whatever. Again, how you distribute these points, it's just to get down to here, mostly, and then also get bonuses from whatever that is. Or whatever you choose over there. Here, you don't need points in Salvation, so instead of putting them in here to get down to here, you can spend those 5 splitting them up amongst Cold Hand and Cold Bore. Cold Bore is nice, it gives you weapon swap speed, and then it also gives you bonus damage on top of that. This is a nice skill to have for this build, but it doesn't really have a place in the skill point spending of the previous version of this. So that's about the only changes. I don't even know what the modifiers are here. I have plus 25% gun damage, it's not too much. You've already seen how the guns play with this build, so that's not really the focus of it at this point. I'm not going to fully go through Athena's here. It's kind of just to show... Okay, well, I'm just not even going to hit anything anyways. I want to just show off the alternatives that there are to this build, because within this build, oh my gosh. Like, within this build, you can play it differently. And this is just one of the examples that I was asked about, so I was like, oh, I'll see what I can do with it. So I am able to keep my shield up a fair bit. I think there is... I don't think I have the amp as much. It's definitely not more than I have it when I'm just with my normal build. I don't think anyways. It doesn't feel like it's more. At most, I'd say it's on par. So really, it feels like the only thing you end up losing is the ability to regen health easily, because it works fine. You know, it's fine as I'm playing through here, and you know, as like go on through here, everything is still just as good. It's just you can get overwhelmed a lot easier as enemies start piling onto you and you get right in the fray of it. You're gonna go down really quick because you can't hold yourself up. Like, some of Zane's health skills, you can have a dot on you and you will out-regen the dot just passively. But But when you don't have those and you're just relying on a shield, it's harder because you don't have that constant regen. If your shield's taking damage, you can't regen. So it isn't as much of an issue as it could potentially be. Okay, I'll just make sure. I'm a little confused as to why my action skills are regenerating that fast. It seems like they're going a lot faster than they should be. I'm actually not gonna use it real quick, just because I want to show off the issue here. I'm actually holding up pretty well, because again, oh, there we go. There's a bit of an example of it. If you do have the Guardian rank stuff, the shield reboot, it helps a lot to keep it up, because that is sort of a way you can manually keep it up. But if you don't have that, I would say this build almost isn't viable. It's not hard to get the shield reboot. I mean, if you really are set on using this build, I would recommend doing that just so you can not have to play it as safe as you otherwise would. But yeah, it works. It's just that having your health completely tied to your shield, it can be tough. So I'll just clear this area, and I think that'll do it. So these are the two ways you can play this build. I'm sure there's many other ways you can think of too, with different gears and different setups, and if you have any ideas, I'd be happy to try them out, show them off a bit. But yeah, I think that'll do it. Thank you all for watching. I apologize for this being presumably a much longer video. I'm sure not many people will actually make it through, but if you did make it through the whole thing, I greatly appreciate that. I've put a lot of work into this build, and the feedback I've gotten on it has been really great. I've been enjoying seeing people like watch it and talk with me about it, and just like say they're gonna use it and that they're gonna give Zane a try because of my build. I've seen that a bit, and it, you know, as a Zane main, it touches my heart to be indoctrinating more. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. I know a lot of my build videos get some good viewership, but you know, my sub count's a little lacking. Nah, honestly, I just appreciate the views even. But yeah, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I hope this build, I hope you give this build a try, because it is fun. So yeah, see ya.